Hi, my name's Wayne. I'm one of the chefs at the canteen, and this is our new cooking show for YouTube and for our website, where we'll show you how to do one or two of the dishes that we do here that is really easy to do, but unless you actually see it being done, can be quite problematic. The first one that we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make some vegan pasta and how to make our ravioli in the restaurant. Now this is very, very simple. You don't need to measure any ingredients, you just need to have a little bit of patience. The first thing that you need to make vegan pasta is some plain flour. Now I'll just put some plain flour into the food processor, won't bother measuring it, take it away, flatten it out, and the first thing that we add to the plain flour is a little drizzle of olive oil. So I'll pop the olive oil in and then pop the lid on and set it to go. And that'll just distribute the olive oil into the flour. We'll knock that off, and that's the first bit done. The next bit we need is some water, so I'll get some cold water from the tap. And this is where you need to be patient. What we need to do is we need to add the water to the pasta. If you were making pasta with eggs, the ratio would be 1 egg to 100 grams of flour. Making vegan pasta is actually much easier. We just add a little bit of water to start with. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the dough to form breadcrumbs but not to come together as a dough, because if it comes together as a dough, it'll be too wet to use. So if I pop that on now, the first thing that we do is that we set it off with a certain amount of water in it, and then we check it, we test it to see whether or not it's come together properly. So I'll turn that off and take a look. That's still pretty dry, so I'll drizzle in just a little bit more water and set it to go again. And what we're looking for is I'm looking for a dough that when I press it with my fingers comes together as a dough, but is still quite dry. So let's try that. And that is almost there. That's probably just a little bit too dry. So we'll just add a teaspoon more water and cross our fingers. Now that looks like it's coming together to me. If you can see what's happening inside the food processor, you'll see that it's coming together as a form of breadcrumbs. If you cut it there, Leanne. So, here we have the pasta. Leanne's a little bit closer now, so we'll take a little look inside the machine to show you exactly what it's like. As you can see, it's coming together nice and easy as a dough, but it's not too wet. That, for me, is perfect pasta. If you wanted to make a pappardelle or some noodles for a lasagna, you'd probably add a tiny little bit more water. You'd probably add actually a tiny little bit more flour. But for our pasta, this is perfect, because when we roll that out, it's actually going to stick together quite nicely. There's no need to use anything extra. The ravioli will come together perfectly. Hi, back again. This is a piece of dough that we've just taken out of the food processor. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn that into pasta. The first thing we're going to do is just chuck a little bit of flour over the top and just use a little bit of flour on the dough, and that'll just help us to get it through the machine. So I've got the machine on the thickest setting. I'm going to take the pasta and I'm going to start to run it through the machine. Now what I normally do is put it on the thickest setting and keep it on the thickest setting for about 4 or 5 passes. And what this will do is it'll just change the texture of the pasta. It'll just stimulate the gluten and it'll make it a more pasta-like substance. So it'll just become more glossy, and you should be able to see now that this looks like a reasonably glossy piece of pasta. That for me is ready for me to work with. I've got that on the thicker setting. The next thing we do is we just take the settings down to create some thin pasta. What I always do is just put a little bit of flour on one side of the pasta, no flour on the other side, because this is the side that I'm going to use to make my ravioli. So when I make the ravioli, I want to be able to take it over and it'll stick quite readily. So what I do, I don't usually go down all of the settings. I normally only go down 3 of the settings. I jump to the 3rd setting, roll my pasta. Jump to the 5th setting, out comes the pasta. And then lastly, I take it through the thinnest setting, and that gives me a really fine pasta, very, very thin, which is perfect for ravioli. If you wanted to make pappardelle or any of the other types of pasta, then what you can do is you can stop at the 2nd setting, and it very much depends on what your actual pasta machine is like. Now I've got a nice little noodle there, so what I'll do is I'll take a knife and just cut a little bit. We'll reserve that for later. This will be enough to show you how to make a very simple ravioli. So when I'm making ravioli in the restaurant, I'll start like that, and I'll just take the knife and cut 2 nice pieces of ravioli or ravioli dough. Okay, what we've got here is a little bit of vegan ricotta that we've made today, which is for one of the dishes on the current menu. We wouldn't ordinarily put this into the pasta, but just for the purposes of showing what it's like, I'll just take a teaspoonful of the vegan ricotta and we'll just pop it into the middle of the pasta, another in there, and this is the beauty of vegan pasta. As long as you've got plenty of flour on the surface, you can pick it up, turn it over, and the ravioli is made as simple as that. Now we don't actually, if you want to be posh about this, you can take a cutter, you can turn that into something nice. You can actually, when we do dumplings, Chinese dumplings with this sort of stuff, what we tend to do is we tend to actually mould this into a dumpling shape like so. But usually for the ravioli we do at the restaurant, we just leave it simple like that. So we have 2 bits of ravioli, and that is how we make our ravioli. It's incredibly simple. We've got that. That can go in the fridge. It'll stay in the fridge for a couple of hours. After a couple of hours, you'll tend to find that it tends to break down. It's not something that you can actually keep. You have to use it at the time, or what usually happens at the end of the night is we throw it in the bin or we eat it ourselves. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get some water on the boil, and we'll show you that that takes about 2 minutes to cook and tastes absolutely delicious. Okay, we've got some boiling water on now. So that's the simple thing now is we just take the pasta, we take the ravioli and we pop it into our boiling water. So in she goes. Give her a little twizzle because it may have a problem of sticking to the bottom. If it sticks to the bottom, you find that the ravioli is everywhere and the filling is everywhere, and you've got to clean the pan, you've got to clean the water and throw everything away, which during service can be something of a problem. So grab a slotted spoon, and this has only been in for a matter of 30 or 40 seconds, but it's still not far off from cooked. So what we do, just turn it over, let it cook on both sides, and this is our ravioli. Now in the restaurant what we tend to do is we tend to fill this with butternut squash. We filled the last one we did on the menu, I think we filled it with some wild garlic and some potato with a wild garlic butter sauce, which was absolutely delicious. This obviously is just filled with a vegan cheese. If you wanted to just fill it with vegan cheese, then this would be lovely with a nice herb sauce or something to accompany the cheese. And you can see this pasta is pretty much cooked. So that was literally about 90 seconds. We've gone from making the pasta, filling it, and now cooking it, and that is how we make our ravioli in the restaurant.